All right, it is 6 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Jacksonville work session on this July 10th at 2023. I'll call this meeting to order and roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Laster?
Here.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Item 3 is the acceptance of the minutes that was sent out. Any questions, comments, additions, deletions to the minutes?
Nope.
Nope. Once again, thank you, Brenda. All right, item 4 is our upcoming fishing rodeo. Is that you, Councilman Galloway?
Yeah, so we're going to need $5,000 to purchase the fish and the food. And what are the dates, guys?
September 30th.
September 30th is the date, and we'll do 100 kids, 50 in the morning and 50 in the afternoon. That's about anything else, guys, I've missed?
Will the kids need to register or tell me as
They'll-
you are?
They'll
Or
register through Game and Fish, correct?
So the Game and Fish is gonna set it up where Ben can put it out on our website where they can sign up online. And that way we can
Yeah.
monitor how many people's coming.
Yeah.
So that way it'll be a successful event for all the kids coming.
So when will we open, being able to register? Would that be sometime 1st of September
Yes.
or after Labor Day or something? Is there any, is there any age restrictions or limitations or just kid at heart? Or acting like a child? I mean, which, I can do both.
I think Game and Fish goes on under 16.
Yeah, I think you have a license, you know.
16
Yes. Yes.
Getting a good old 202 or 33 or what? 33?
Would they have to bring their own fishing pole?
No, that's what they're talking about. We're gonna have,
Provide.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a fishing rodeo. So bear with me.
you never been to fish already?
No.
Am I saying that, I'm speaking out of turn? I think we have a local company donating.
Some, yeah, Shelby sat on that, so we will,
Seems like a lot of fun.
yeah, hope for a good turnout.
Who's gonna fry the fish after?
Well, we have already signed, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, you're gonna be in charge of baiting the hooks.
To handle all the
Never.
work.
You're the official fish market.
They're gonna be gummy bears. Gummy worms.
So, well, that's great. I really appreciate all that you guys, the legwork you're doing, and you also.
That's under, we
and-
don't have to vote on that, right? 'Cause that's under your.
Yeah.
Get to handle that.
You can get 5,000. That's just
Yeah,
easy like that.
I think that's a good use of our pond now that it has water in it and fish. How are the fish doing in the moss and all of the grass?
They've done a number on that grass down there. It looks good, really good.
I think, and from the pictures I saw at 4th of July, it was a real good event and a lot of people around the pond. Really looked nice.
The whales performing phenomenal. It's keeping, the
Yeah,
good Lord
it's
of the
staying.
whales keeping it full.
Yeah. All right, anything else on the fishing rodeo? Fishing rodeo, not fishing.
Do we have a grand marshal? Is that you?
You gonna throw out the first pit, first fish?
Catch the first fish.
Yeah, I want a speedboat running
The
through there.
Grand
though.
Marshal
Would
has
be
to do a
great.
cannonball in the middle of the lake.
All right, I think we've said enough about that.
We've massacred that.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
The item 5 is the EARPDC Transit Study and Action Plan. Ms. Burke, you want to give me a little history on this, or Mark, a little history on where we're at, what we're doing on
I
that?
think in y'all's package, y'all did receive a copy, correct? East Alabama, they hired a consultant, JRW Associates. They hired a consultant to do this transit study, to study potentially changing some of the routes in the Anniston area, but for us, actually creating a brand new route. Ms. Burt, if you can pull that map up. All right. What's in red is the actual route, and what's in yellow would be the stops. And if I'm not mistaken, there's 27 stops, and they're estimating it a round trip would be an hour to hit each one of the stops. Libby
But
Messing.
they've still got to study that to make sure the loop is that
That is
hour
correct.
loop.
all I was wanting to run past y'all, Libby Messick had asked me, she's with East Alabama, she had asked me if we were good with this study. Now, it's not that we're approving any money or anything, she just wanted to know if we had any comments on the actual study. So I just wanted to put it before y'all to see if you had any comments or questions or, but I know that there is some money talked about in this study, some estimated cost. There's some startup cost, and then there would be some yearly cost after that. Let's see. How it highlighted.
We had discussed, you know, and I just asked Ms. Burke probably over a year ago now about, you know, we don't have any transit for those who need it. And there's not only the college students, but we have people that are not, that have vehicles, and be able to get them around. And just so happened, I think this plan and this project was already starting, to look at it. We're still trying to get JSU involved, to see if they actually want or need that part.
Do they used to have a bus system?
Yeah, they didn't go well, didn't go over.
But those 3 locations for JSU, you see it's JSU 1, 2, and 3, that's just an approximate
Mhm.
location because we never really got any communication back on it.
Because we still, once we get to that point, we're going to have to go out and get locations
That
for.
is correct. Now, what they've done along the 21 corridor, all the bus stops are actually, like, let's use Pelham Plaza. That stop would actually be like within their parking lot. So we would have to get permission from that property owner to allow the transit bus to come into private property. Because we definitely don't want a bus stopping on 21 and just have a bus stop
Sure.
right behind the curb.
But
We,
so,
me and, Ms. Burt and who else was it, Mark Williams, we kind of came up with the initial stops. And then the study went on for a couple months before we realized that we had left Kitty Stone and the high school off. So that's like a recent addition, or those 2 stops. But the numbers, they're saying that roughly about 160,000 for the first year, that would get the 2 buses bought, and then about 91,000 estimated a year to operate it afterwards.
is that not a 80-20? Yeah, 80-20.
And then 80/20.
So I'm sorry, 160 to start, that's our part of the 80-20, and then approximately
And then
100,000 a year
Yes,
to
thereafter.
maintain.
Yep.
That would be 2 buses.
Correct, and then they've actually even talked about possibly having a maintenance building with a mechanic, because right now, I think they're subbing the work out, but I think that they're actually just wanna have somebody on the payroll that'll maintain the fleet.
In your opinion, Ms. Burke, whomever's, if we decide we want to do this, I don't want us to do all this work, get all these locations, and then we're not willing to fund it. So we'll probably need to, and correct me, please, do some kind of funding on our end prior to us looking for properties or places or that work together, or how would that work?
Well, you know, I don't know that doing the maintenance shop, they're just kind of throwing that in there. They may want to stick with just subbing it out to, you know, a garage, a local garage or something, I don't, you know. But they just feel like if we just have our own in-house maintenance facility, that it'll just all function a lot better. But like I said, there's payroll that goes along with that, building the facility, furnishing the facility.
Well, what numbers of people, riders do they project?
You know, I read back through this again, I never really saw any specific numbers.
I think one of the earlier meetings, they had some guesstimates.
Yeah, and I can't
I
remember.
don't remember
to be quite
that.
honest. But one of the things too that got talked about in the meeting too was also the possibility of having a direct route from Jacksonville back toward Oxford. Like if Jacksonville folks want to go to the exchange, you know, they're looking at that too, as opposed, you know, maybe one day a week or something like that.
They talked about that could be shorter, where maybe even if we just get it from here to Linlock,
I had the same reaction.
make a connection with their buses in Linlock,
Mhm.
then they get them wherever.
That would be a lengthy bus ride, but still it would be that opportunity. And even maybe suggested us basically do what we're doing, and then if we want to expand it into connection with other municipalities, could do that later.
So what are we talking about as far as where we are now and what's our direction to go to study it more, or we?
So yeah, what does she actually need from us now?
All she wanted to know if we had any comments. They just want to issue the final document. That's all she's wanting to do right now. It's just issue.
But even after tonight, we say we're basically for it, there still can be tweaks to the route
Absolutely.
as needed.
Absolutely.
And you think maybe in the report they'll have, I know you can't get a hard number on this, but it sure would be glad to know about how many, if you got 2 buses, what's the, how many people are gonna be riding, or the possibility of
Well,
riding?
that can be our comment from tonight's meeting is we would like the report to also include what the estimated, what they call ridership.
They
Right.
gave the ridership demographics, but there
Yeah,
was,
they just gave the
there was
demographics,
never
but they
a
didn't give
number of,
I'd like to see that
Okay.
from a business standpoint.
All right.
For a baseball reference, maybe you build it and then they come. Really, I mean, because you don't know what you need. I just know I see people still to this day time. I see people trying to get to work walking up and down 21.
Yep.
Those are people who they're trying to do their part, be a good citizen, and actually go to work. And they can't get there without. And there's inclement weather. And there's a couple that push grocery carts out from the west side over across 21, coming right there.
I'm
Van.
with you, I'd just like to know,
So right now, the service is basically you have to call and request.
Yes.
Ride on demand.
Yeah. And I think
It's
that's
pretty
usually.
active.
Mhm.
It's pretty
He
active.
gave a number for that too. That was
Yeah,
more
we
than I
get a
thought.
report on that every month, but I can't remember. Do you remember last month, Mark?
I don't
how much are
know.
we paying for that right now? Do we supplement that?
It's a 80-20 match,
Right now,
yeah.
well, would it
But,
do
but,
away
that,
with
but that's
that
what I
then?
mean, would we be able to, still
Yes, they
that's,
say this won't affect that at all, just totally
Then we're
different,
doubling up.
totally different program.
well, the call-in is what, to get you from out of Jacksonville into Doctor's
So you
appointment,
got
San
medical,
Anson,
yeah.
Oxford.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the reason I wasn't real keen on us doing the other combined yet, and that's just my opinion, because that is still there. That option is still there for them if they need that. And then there actually be a cost of what, 50 cents?
$1.
$1.
Rider?
Mhm.
Well, I had a comment that they require a certain number of riders before they make that ride toward Anniston,
Mhm.
and have a limit on how many can come back. So we don't like have all our shoppers going to Oxford. instead of-
Well, that's true. That's, I was thinking the same thing.
You know, we don't want to make it easier for people to go to the exchange.
No.
Mark, do you recall timeline as to when they're gonna be able to implement? Because you know there's gonna be time for the buses to get purchased. I think it's not anything we're gonna be able to do in the next year.
Yeah, they were saying it was at least a year plus
Yeah, I think it's
lead
gonna
time
be
on
Probably
buses.
in mid to late 2024 before they can even get.
Even if we ordered a bus now, it'd be buses now plural, but it would take that
Back
long
to
to
your
get there.
question about the cost, it is $1 a trip with a reduced fee of 50 cents for seniors, students, disabled, and those on Medicaid and Medicare.
And like you mentioned, Terry, with JSU not having their system up and running, you, especially with the nurses and students.
And they do, the campus does have JSU Ride, that
Yeah,
is
they-
an on-demand,
Mhm.
schedule it in advance so that students can be transported across campus as well as to city places. But did you say that maybe Leah had not heard, you had not heard back from Leah on?
We've had a couple meetings where they weren't in attendance.
They were invited. I say they were, I don't know who they
I was just
are.
asked.
I know,
That-
Dr. Holt that was here for the scooter.
Yeah.
He was at one of the initial meetings at East Alabama, but a couple of meetings after, except for Jennifer Green.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She, she attends a lot of different
Yeah.
things. But the meeting that we had at the train depot, I mean, she said that she makes none of these decisions. She
Yeah.
just wanted to be in on the conversation.
I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody there at the institution, but I would think there would be maybe some interest that could alleviate some of the JSU ride,
Mhm.
you know, because it is an on-demand, but if some of these stops are built in,
Well, that's why I was questioning the stops. I mean,
Yeah.
those are just generic stopping points. If JSU is involved and wants to be involved, they may have better locations.
that's what I was gonna mention, it might be some other housing-specific locations, and,
Apartment complexes.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I know
Like I
JSU is
said,
gonna,
This is fluid. I mean, there's some, you know,
Yeah.
once they've still got to go out, I think, and actually drive it.
right.
I mean, I think they're just estimating an hour.
Well, and I know when the Gamecock Express was in operation, I think some of the, not issue, but it was this type setup. So it was, you're going from stop A, B, C, D, all the way through, and so that loop might take inter-campus 25 minutes, external to campus maybe 45 minutes, so it came back to point zero.
Mhm.
And that's just not how we take rides now. I mean, it's very, you know, Uber, Lyft,
It's
centric. I
point
want A to B.
Point A to B.
Yeah, and I don't,
Right.
if I don't need to go to B to C to D, and I don't need
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
wanna go from here to here. So, yeah. And that's not a reason for that not working. I know that was some of the things that I experienced and saw.
But if y'all are good with it, I'll just tell them that our comment is we would like to see some information on the estimated number of riders added to the study. If y'all are good with that.
We good?
It's good.
Thank you, Mark. Any of the business? All right, then, we'll adjourn and start back in about 5 minutes. Thank you all. I think your guests are here too.
Okay.
So do you want them up here on the stage with us or have them?
Okay.
Welcome everyone to the City of Jacksonville Council meeting on this July 10th of 2023. I'll call this meeting to order and ask you all to please stand. We got a kind of dual role tonight. We got Gary Britton. He's going to give the invocation, and we have a couple special guests. So just remain standing after the invocation. Ms. Laster will go ahead and introduce our guest, and then we'll do the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray together. We thank you, our Father, for the blessings we enjoy, and we thank you for the city of Jacksonville, for our mayor, our city council, all of our leaders, and we pray your blessings on them. We ask for you to give them wisdom as they make decisions that affect us all, and may we all give glory to you for all the good things that we enjoy. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we have two special guests that are leading our pledge. Sandy Smitherman, she's a fifth grader from Keystone, and her sister Jamie Smitherman, she's a fourth grader from Keystone. We're so excited to have you here to lead the pledge. Right. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Laster? Here. Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Item 5 is the adoption of the minutes. We didn't have any issues during the work session, so do I have a motion? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 6 is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions? Wow, nothing to add, nothing to take away. That's good. That's good. All right, I have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 7 is proclamations. We're going to pass that. Item 8 is public comments concerning any agenda item. If there's anything on the agenda that you'd like to address the council, this is the time to do so. I believe we have Chief Cato going to start us off.
As we discussed last council meeting about our grant for the diesel exhaust system, it looked like we were going to have an additional cost of $100,000 above the grant. But we did some trimming and we got those numbers down to the city's portion now added on top of the grant. It would be $17,768. It would meet both our needs at both stations. It'd be a good system. So I'm very pleased with that and much more pleased with that much lower number. So I think it's number 9 and says it may be up to an additional $100,000, but I think it's safe to say 18 now.
Any questions for the chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else like to address the council concerning any agenda item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to item 9.
Consider action to accept the AFG grant for the installation of diesel exhaust systems at fire station number 1 and number 2, with the city paying the required 5% match, 5% grant writer fee, and additional funding up to $100,000.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to thank the chief for working it out, that's getting that price down to still a product that will serve the purpose of what we need. The safety of your firefighters, it's worth whatever we have to pay. Thank you for making those cuts. All right, any other discussion? A motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
We already have a motion and a second.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 10.
Consider action to approve the current list of volunteer firefighters per the attached.
So moved. Second.
So a motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 11.
Consider action to approve an additional position of police officer, range 18.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 12.
Consider action to approve the appointment of the following. Item A is Robbie A. Lane, laborer in PARD, range 1, effective upon compliance with ordinance number 273 due to the resignation of Dylan Ty Glass. Item B is Jerry Benefield, laborer in PARD, range 1, effective July 12, 2023, due to the promotion of Nicholas Day. Mr. Benefield is currently a temporary laborer.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 13.
Consider action to approve the reclassification of the following. Drake Shu, firefighter EMT, range 11, effective July 12, 2023, due to obtaining EMT certification.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion in 2 seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 14.
Consider action to accept the resignation of the following. Item A is Adrian Gibson, recreation and athletic assistant, effective July 12, 2023. And item B is Matthew Hardeman, fire engineer, paramedic, effective July 16, 2023.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds again. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Consent agenda.
Item 15 is budget amendment request. Item 16 is purchases over $7,500. Item 17 is request to attend conference training session with costs exceeding $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item is item 18, public comments for any general items. So I think we have several that would like to speak tonight, so if you would, just come on up to the podium, state your name and address, and before you leave, make sure you get with our city clerk. She's the lady there at the corner, the yellow top, and you'll have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, I want to thank the mayor and the city council for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Skip Clark. I reside at 1201 Eagle Crest Boulevard Southwest. I want to recognize, is Ms. Wolf here? I want to recognize Ms. Wolf for addressing my concern and working with me, and also Mr. Carr, is he here? Please convey to Mr. Carr, I appreciate it that he called me about the issue. I come to the leadership of this city as a tax-paying local consumer and registered voter. And I'm requesting that you guys address the stormwater management issues across the street in the Cotton Creek subdivision and the Eagles Landing subdivision. Many of us who are behind me are dealing with this issue, not on a random, once a 6 month. It's every month, sometimes multiple times a month. The effects of this, and I'm just going to list some because I want these others to speak as well, is in Cotton Creek we've had property damage. We have consistent road hazards when it rains hard because the culverts can't handle it and it goes over the road. We have health hazards of residual water, which is worse over in our neck of the woods in Eagles Landing. Because there is a, I'm not going to, because I only have 3 minutes, there is a long stretch of ditch between Hampton and, what is it? Fairfield, that has not been cleaned by the city who used to do it. So precedent was set. It hasn't been done. I've been there 5 years. And I've taken it upon myself, as well as Dr. King, to clean a good portion of it. And I continue. You guys picked up a big piece of what I cleaned up in the ditch, yes, sir, today. So what we have is we have a perpetual flow of water when it rains hard. It goes down, it hits Hampton, right at Mr. Tommy's house, and spreads out because erosion has put in a bunch of dirt, and from what I heard, maybe even fill in when they built the houses on Sedgwood or whatever that road is. So it just flattens out. Then it gets stopped in the culvert, so then it backs all the way up to my house, comes back out, goes back down the hill, and just joins in. And I have a video that I sent the mayor's office of this, and multiple videos, multiple pictures of the ditch. So when I contacted the city, I asked, hey, can I get some help? Can you clean the ditch? I didn't hear anything for 30 days, so then I contacted again, and that's when Ms. Wolf started to engage me, which I appreciate. That I am a citizen, right? So what is contributing to this issue? I think primarily, I've had some people out there that know this issue. The culverts are too small for the water flow. And that creates really, I'll even say, you can fix the ditch that needs to be dredged and everything. And it's gonna get stopped there on Hampton. And then it gets stopped down there by Dr. Hammock's. So we need to deal with that. And I understand I'm coming in here, 3 years late because you've known about it since 2020. So we need to fix it. We're asking you for your help. You're our leaders. So we're a pretty big, residency over here for Jacksonville. I was actually told by the city that they wouldn't even clean the ditch until they fixed, the issue down in Cotton Creek, which is kind of an odd thing to tell a resident, right? Because it's almost mentioning, well, if we send more storm water down there, we're going to get sued. So what we're trying to do is work with you guys. We're asking, we're pleading with you. Please address our issue. Please get it on this agenda. I've heard that maybe there's supposed to be a working group with you, and I was told that you didn't get names. Here's one name, and I've probably got a bunch behind me that'll join.
I just wrote your name down.
Okay, well, I'm not the only one.
I know.
Okay.
I put you on the list.
So,
I
as you
apologize, it's your 3 minutes. There are several more like
and I'll step.
I do appreciate the
Okay.
comments.
So I'll turn it over.
Sir, we'll give it to city clerk first.
Well, they have enough emails in my house.
Thank you. Tim King. I live next door to Skip, 1203 Eagle Crest Boulevard Southwest. I've been in that house since 2008. I have a distinct memory of the ditch being cleaned one time. I don't think it's been cleaned since then. I can't remember when that was, but I remember watching them clean it. It was like a little backhoe in there cleaning it. The thing I want to kind of mention is on the side of my house, near the ditch. The only way I can describe it is it used to take my lawnmower three rows. Now it's only one row. So the erosion is getting closer and closer to my house. The water is getting higher and higher. Skip didn't mention, but the last deluge that we had a couple of weeks ago, it flooded his backyard about halfway. And then the health risk, we get in the ditch and, weed eat it and mow it, and it's kind of scary at times because there's stuff in there. And then the mosquitoes and all that water that just gathers right there by my house. Plus, it's kind of just an unsightly thing, and it affects the value of my home. I have 3 kids. They're all grown now. I'm probably not going to live in that house forever. I can't keep it up. It's, I'm getting older. So at some point, I'm going to probably sell it. And I don't want that ditch to be a problem. When we originally bought the house, it was an issue for my wife. She's like, I don't know if I want that house because of that ditch. But we got over it because, as you know, housing in Jacksonville is not easy to come by. These are nice neighborhoods that we have. Everyone in our neighborhood keeps their house up, keeps their yard up, and we just want you to consider your role and your obligation as a city to maintain proper water flow through those ditches. And I appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else?
Laura Humphreys. I own the Redbird Coffee House at 5 Public Square, as well as a resident at 1000 9th Street Northeast. I come tonight frustrated and confused. There are many things about government I don't understand, and quite frankly, I don't want to. But I do feel honesty and integrity should be at the core of decisions, as well as communication. We've been part of this community and have tried to be good partners with the city since before we even opened the Redbird in 2021. We are aware that being part of a community requires us to contribute to the greater good, and we have done what we can to give of our talents and our resources. We love this city, the people who call it home, and the people who travel through it. We are aware that there will be decisions we don't like and policies we don't agree with. But I have trusted those situations were being handled by those in charge, looking at the whole. We have always come to this council with concerns and offered to be part of solutions. We have followed what we felt was the proper chain of command in dealing with situations. I come tonight because I've spoken to council members, the mayor, and the city administrator about this situation and have been told it is being handled. Well, it has not been handled, and I'm not confident that I understand the stance the mayor or the council have on this policy. Our business began receiving Facebook messages from a city employee, personal Facebook, early this year, asking leading questions without identifying themselves as working as an agent for the city. Within a few days, another message was sent informing us to have another business we were partnering with, I'm sorry, quote, make sure they contact City Hall for their business license. There were several issues with this communication. Number one, we nor I am in any fashion a representative of this city and am not compensated to conduct business on behalf of the city. Number two, this communication came on a Sunday afternoon via Facebook by someone's personal Facebook page. Number three, the person never researched anything to understand this was a business-to-business transaction and the city was getting its revenue. Then a few days later, another business we had tagged on our social media was contacted by the same city employee from their Facebook page. They did not identify themselves and asked where this person was located. Then proceeded to tell the individual the address at City Hall and not to conduct any more business in Jacksonville until she got her business license. What the city employee didn't know was the business had a license in Piedmont and did pickups there. After I received a very upset and frazzled communication from a very young entrepreneur, I made contact with members of this council. After attending a council meeting a few weeks later, for no purpose other than to be part of the process and understand what is happening in this community, I spoke to members of this council who informed me that this practice was to ensure everyone's conducting business, has a license, and that they would not be using personal Facebook as a vehicle for communication. A few months later, another business was tagged on social media was contacted by the same city employee through their personal Facebook page again. This time communication happened during normal business hours. I received yet another call from a very scared and upset young entrepreneur and then her parents. I tried to defuse the situation and assured them Jacksonville is a great place to start a business, and I had been in contact with city officials. I promised I would follow up. I made an appointment to speak with the mayor and the city administrator. I had a meeting with the mayor late in May. I told him my concerns and asked for city policy to have employees on Facebook searching for business license infractions. I also voiced my concern that this individual has not reached out to other businesses I contacted who had several of the same businesses tagged. I asked if the Redbird was being targeted. The mayor assured me he would look into it. I asked I get a follow-up. The follow-up did not happen, so I sent an email. City administrator came to an emergency meeting and informed me that contact this way would cease. There were professional ways to communicate about licensing, and personal Facebook messages would not be that format. We had some discussion, and I informed her that I personally did not think searching for individuals for infractions via Facebook was a good practice or a wise use of tax dollars for the city, period. We ended that conversation, however, with my understanding that this practice was going to be looked into, and I had the expectation it would not continue, at least in the form it had been conducted up to this point. I also shared that if the city truly wanted to build trust and support a small business, the approach should come as an offer to share vital information. Saturday evening, I received a call that has us to this point. We're having an event and tagged businesses that are joining us. Within an hour of the post, one of the businesses received a Facebook message from this same city employee from their personal Facebook page. This time the correspondence was slightly different. Quote, a business license associated with your organization cannot be located. If your business does have a city license, please notify me immediately with the number on the license so your file can be updated. If your records do not indicate you have a current business license with our city, please fill out the attached forms and return them with your state-issued landscape certificate. Then they put their city email address to be contacted. Well, this business does indeed have a City of Jacksonville business license, which leads me to ask, shouldn't due diligence be made prior to contacting individuals and businesses, thus preventing false accusations and information being presented? I am confused, as I've been assured numerous times that this would be handled, and I'm not sure that this individual is blatantly regarding.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got a lot of other people. We do understand the situation. We apologize. We didn't think that was handled.
Thank you.
Just thank you.
Gary Humphreys, owner of the Redbird and spouse to this one, and she is a lot nicer and addresses things more pleasantly than I do, and I apologize. But I stand before you now as a resident of the city of Jacksonville. I am a business owner in the city of Jacksonville. I vote in the city of Jacksonville. I pay taxes in the city of Jacksonville. And I'm being harassed in the city of Jacksonville because of my faith. My civil liberties are being stepped on by a city employee. She's addressed most of it. I'm going to address the rest of it. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you can remember a meeting with my wife about this situation.
Ms. Grant, I'm sure you remember addressing this situation. I'm in private business. Most of you here are in private business. If someone in your private business does not follow a direct order, what happens? They're written up, they're terminated. If it happens multiple times, the write-ups can only go so far because they are intended to change behavior. So what I ask now is this employee acting upon the thoughts and functions of the city? And if not, why does she have a job? If she is not representing the city, why does she have a job? Because I know Ms. Grant is a very direct individual. And I know after she met my wife, I will put $100 right here that she went directly to this person and had a conversation. That's the type of person she is. So why are we still allowing this? The other part is, this turns into a legal matter. Because now, what you're telling me is you're allowing this individual to operate from a personal Facebook on city behalf. So she's operating under the guise that she is a city employee from her personal Facebook, which opens the city to liability that everything on her Facebook the city agrees with, because her personal Facebook is being used for city business. So, just to quote a couple things from the council that I sought. She's acting under the color of law, continuing to target and harass my vendors on a basis of faith. And I say this because it's evident and proven that through the other vendor that was at the meeting with Mr. Nunley and Ms. Grant, her vendors who were doing the same thing were not being contacted. My vendors were. So that in itself makes me question, am I being targeted? The fact that there's other pop-ups and other merchants having people come to their places of business in Jacksonville selling merchandise and they're not being targeted or contacted makes me question that. So under the Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act, this allows that employees and agents of local governments can be sued in both their personal and official capacities. In addition, local and municipal governments can be sued once it's validated that the person was acting under the color of law. And based on the counsel that we have sought, Ms. Miller is operating as an agent of the city, and it passes the initial test of so. It passes the test that she is acting under the color of law. And this opens up two cans of worms that I don't think the city wants to go into. Under the Alabama Freedom of Information Act, it covers public records. And it defines that all records are written, typed, printed documents, letters, papers made or received by public employees. It includes all forms of records. And in Birmingham News Company versus Perry, it was found that any records kept on computers were records themselves, and all records are public writings. So under Alabama law, any citizen has a right to request documents of these email search histories and all writing instruments used in the city business. And since Ms. Miller is using her personal devices under the color of the law to perform city business, it opens the doors that all personal computers and public computers can be requested through the Freedom of Information Act in the state of Alabama. So, I stand here before you to let you know that I'm taking this very seriously. We have tried to be a good corporate citizen of the city of Jacksonville, and at this point, I don't feel we are getting what we have put into it. So my next steps, if this continues, I will file for all computer records, business and personal. I will engage a local attorney, since my counsel is out of state, and formally charge all those involved with harassment, violation of my civil liberties. And I will contact the state attorney general and let them know the civil liberties are being stepped on in the city of Jacksonville. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else like to address the council? Just come forward, state your name and address.
Debbie Bass, 1198 Eagle Crest. And my request is simple, it's not expensive or anything like that. But what I have lived in Eagles Landing for 23 years. We moved there before there was an access road to Cotton Creek or to Delwood. But since the neighborhood is built up, people tend to fly down our road. And there is a speed sign, there's a sign that says children at play, but the vehicles that speed down through there, they start at the top at Fairfield, you know, around the curve, and they go all the way to the stop sign as fast as they can go. And sometimes they stop at the stop sign, sometimes they don't, and then from that point all the way down to Hunter is again. We have people that walk, there's no sidewalks in our neighborhood. We have people that walk, kids ride bikes, they walk to school, they walk back from school. People push strollers, kids ride scooters, and there's no sidewalks, so it's hard for them to get out of the road when people, you know, fly down the road. So I don't want to bring up a problem without a solution. So I would like to propose either there is a stop sign at Hampton that comes from Cotton Creek, to put another stop sign right there and make it a three-way stop in front of my house, or Mr. Gray, who lives beside me, it'd be between our house, and make that a three-way stop to slow people down. Or I don't know if you're familiar with Meadow Lakes in Oxford, you know, it's a real nice subdivision. They have these little speed breakers. So if you guys could do something to slow down that traffic, because it is a danger. So I don't think it would be expensive. Either one of those suggestions would work for us, as long as you can slow people down. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. After you get with Brenda, give the Chief Wood, please.
Hey, I'm Sean Gray. I live at 1200 Eagle Crest Boulevard, and I'd just like to speak on behalf of two of the issues that have already been spoken of, just so you know my opinion. One would be the speed issue on our road. It is 25-mile-an-hour posted speed limit. I've personally stepped out in the road mowing the grass or working in the yard a couple times and almost been clipped by cars going well over that speed limit. And it's always just the stretch from between the entrance of Eagle Crest to the end of the stop sign, and I would agree with either one of those proposals that she has suggested that would help through the neighborhood. And then in regards to the drainage issue, obviously it's an issue from my perspective. The biggest concern is the safety. I've been in the neighborhood when we have heavy torrential rains going on, and I drive a truck that has plenty of ground clearance. And in the roads, both of those areas that have been mentioned already previously, I mean, you could get pulled away in a car with it. It's just not safe. It's not safe for people coming through the neighborhood, and even especially for people that show up in the neighborhood that don't know, that aren't familiar with the drainage issue. So safety would be number one. And then obviously property value is a big concern. And so anyway, we would just ask the council to see if they would take it up. I'd be willing to serve on any committee that could help with that. And I feel like it is the city's responsibility. I know I've heard from some folks in the past that the city doesn't want to take some responsibility for that. It's been the developer's issue in the past, but my understanding from both building codes and federal codes that follow those is that ultimately it ends up being the city's problem. I don't think the city wants any of us as homeowners getting backhoes out in your drainage area trying to, you know, make adjustments to how drainage is supposed to flow between houses and so forth. So obviously I think as good citizens we'd be willing to clean out our drainage areas when they get stuff in them. But from what I can see, the drain, it's not because they're not clean. The problem is they are not properly designed. And I'm an engineer by degree. I do that for a living, so I can tell you those drainage areas are not properly designed for the amount of water flow that needs to happen to properly get good runoff. So I just ask the city to take a look at that and be willing to serve on any committees to help with it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Pam Clybury, and I live at 1195 Hillcrest Boulevard. I live, as you come off of George Stafford, I live at the first stop sign coming down Eagle Crest Boulevard. You can stand at our driveway and see people as they come off of George Stafford. It's like a Talladega 500 as they gain speed down through there, and we can stand and watch them run the stop sign. Even coming the opposite way, they come up the hill, they don't stop at the stop sign, and then they gain speed going up the hill. Sometimes we want to stand out there and yell, citizens arrest, like I'm a pal, but we don't. We've offered people, we've even stopped some police officers in the city and asked them to sit in our driveway and just watch the stop sign. But something needs to be done because it is very dangerous. It's a serious thing when we don't want to see anybody get hurt. We don't want to see anybody lose their life over someone hitting them. Please consider this, and I also concur with the drainage issue. My mother lives at 1199 Sagewood Place, and as the water comes down the ditch, it's like a river. I've seen Miss Joanne walk her dog, and she has to turn around because the water's so deep, almost knee deep sometimes, that debris runs down the road. We have to get out there and we rake and we clean, and we have to stack it up because it does flood in her yard, and she's elderly, so we have to help take care of her. So we do ask you to consider these issues. They're very serious to us, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Greg Bonds. I live at 1007 Miranda Lane Southwest, and I have great respect for the mayor and city council and all the employees. And I've known most of you for many years, go to church, work with you, and I think where I live, I'm lucky we are high enough that I'm not specifically affected by the flooding, but my heart breaks every time I see the neighbors down the street worrying about, oh my gosh, they're going through it again. So I think what you've heard and what I would like to express, if there could be some kind of collaboration, we are willing to help. And so any kind of collaboration I know would be greatly appreciated to help alleviate this issue. Thank you.
I'll wait on you, Ms. Taylor. You give me the go and I'll.
Oh, sure, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm Russell Hammock. Of course, I live at 1000 Miranda Lane. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. Many of you have posted signs in my yard, been to my house, sat on my back porch, know the conditions that we currently are facing, we still face. I know y'all commissioned a drainage study back in June of 2021. I appreciate all the folks from Eagles Lane. That drainage study's been more than 2 years old, and we've been asked patiently to wait on solutions to this problem, this drainage issue, but nothing has really had been done. Some of those solutions that were offered as part of the study that y'all commissioned included digging the ditches around Cotton Creek to make them wider, to make them deeper, to increase the size of the culverts, but no real actions taking place. This issue of flooding has not only impacted Eagles Landing, but I believe, and I could be mistaken about this, but I'd love to hear a representative from Jacksonville City Schools. I believe the last time we had some major rain, the school ended up getting some water in the school as well. And that's also drainage issues. This is where we play. It's where our kids play. This is where we garden, where we hang out, where we enjoy our families. And what we're worried and concerned is not just the water itself, but all the contaminants that come in the water. Where do those get deposited? What do those look like? Me and my wife have sent a water sample to Auburn. I think she made that known at the last meeting. It has been flagged for contaminants already. Go ahead and tell you that. I don't know the results of that, but I'll let you know, and I don't mind making it public so that everyone knows what's being done and what's actually in the drainage water as it's floating down to our yards. 4 dogs on our street have actually passed in the last 3 years. 4. All died from cancer. Just to make matters worse, one of our former neighbors that actually lived in our neighborhood has recently been diagnosed with terminal disease. This does not need to be an issue that you take up from time to time. This ought to be an issue that's constantly on your agenda until a problem is solved and a solution is implemented. But we come here every time asking for action. We don't have anything. I mean, I appreciate the drainage study. It's given us a lot of insight into problems and solutions we could. But as for variable action that we can see with our eyes and hope and pray, I mean, every time there's a, you can ask my wife, every time there's a rain coming, what's the yard look like? What's the water look like? You know? And so it's always an issue. We've asked for help. We continue to ask for help. And this is just my personal feeling, but after a while, when you ask for help and you don't get anything, it kind of feels like neglect. And that's the way we feel. We feel neglected, like we can't get anything done. I appreciate Cody bringing up and saying, hey, we need a committee of names and people to come together as neighborhoods. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do as neighbors? What can we do? You hold all the money. You hold the budget. You can allocate folks to do it. The mayor can allocate workers to come and dig and do what we need to be done. But we can't really do anything as neighbors. But we're coming, we're begging, we're pleading and asking for help. I'm at you, number 10.
Anyone else?
She doesn't win.
Hello, my name's Fallon Turley. I live on 705 Fairfield Drive Southwest. This is out of my comfort zone. I'm very nervous. I normally don't want to ruffle feathers or cause any problems. But I would like for the items to be addressed of the water drainage system. And now that it was brought to my attention, I do walk in the neighborhood, and I could kind of tell you the make and model of the vehicles that are repeat offenders of the speeding on Eagle Crest, and I would like for that to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Take that.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Finley. I live at 1002 Miranda Lane Southwest, and I really didn't have much else to say because I thought Dr. Hammock did such a good job sharing, but I live right beside Dr. Hammock, and our part of the neighborhood I do think is worse than most parts of the neighborhood. We get kind of everything that runs off. I have 2 dogs. They are my kids, and so of course I really worry about that concern with the contaminants and look forward to seeing the results of the study. And just more importantly than anything, it is of course the safety and the property value that we're all really concerned about. So I just want to echo what everyone else has said and show the support for my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're done.
Sure. Anyone else? Don't be shy. All right. Seeing no one else come forward, Councilmember remarks. Sure.
This coming Monday, July the 17th, we have free haircuts for kids. So if you got kids that need free haircuts, we'll be giving them at Career Academy here in Jacksonville from 8 to 4. So pass the word.
I would just like, as uncomfortable as this is for us and for you also, for some, this is how government works. I appreciate you taking your time, and those who just come in that having some say that some problems are worse than others. You still get support from your neighbors, and that's how you build relationships, build neighborhoods, build cities. So I know we didn't accomplish anything tonight, other than you getting it off your chest. We will continue to look into these things and try to do the best we can possibly do. I know some had different issues than others. I personally will apologize for some of the issues that I thought was taken care of, or in the process of being taken care of, being resolved. They have not been, so we will look into that further. But once again, thank you for your patience and thank you for being here. All right, Mayor's report.
Thank you very much. I wanted to just make a comment about Jack's Fest. I thought, the weather, put Janice in charge of the weather, she failed. She did really well on everything else. It went really well. We were a little concerned about the situation, not being able to use the baseball field anymore. But it worked out real well. It was a good event, good turnout, even though the weather wasn't the most pleasant in the world. I think we may want to just continue to use this area, that we use this area for anywhere really, really well. If y'all get a chance, be sure to give Janice a pat on the back, she did a good job putting all that together. Remind you of a couple of upcoming things. Back to school sales tax holidays coming up the weekend of July 21st, so keep that in mind. Pass that word around so people will be aware as they start to think about school again. What I will remind you also that we have a ribbon cutting Friday at 10:30, this Friday at 10:30 at Northeast Orthopedics. We'll be opening their office. If you haven't been by there to see that yet, you need it. They did a great job on that building. It's a nice facility, and look forward to them being there. Hope their business does well. Other thing I mentioned, we do have a city employee sitting at the table here tonight. It's gonna be being out for a few days. Going with her son to the World Series to play ball. So we're excited about that. Brenda, congratulations. Hope y'all do well. I know that's gonna be an event that you will never forget. So good luck.
Super excited.
Going to Gulfport, Mississippi, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So congratulations to Brenda, her son. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other business come before the council? Hearing none. Item 22.
Consider action to adjourn into an executive session under the provisions of the Code of Alabama, Section 36-25A-7A6, to discuss the sale of real property.
Motion, do I have a second? Second. A motion second, any discussion? Just so you know, we will not be returning, we'll be adjourning into the executive session. Hearing nothing? All in favor, say aye. Roll call, I'm sorry, roll call.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Laster?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Thank you all, be safe.